Radyo Katipunan, 87.9 FM.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. Voice of the Eagle kami, di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atin sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugo, todo sa kayod, tunong at tulong. Lipad na Blue Eagle, galing hiding at tigil.
Welcome to The Rundown, where we take you right into the action with the latest sports news, updates, game previews, breakdown, and analysis in, around, across, and beyond the Ateneo. And now, let's get ready to run down!
Right, what is up, Pinoy football fans everywhere? Welcome again to your Wednesday special episode, of course, of... No, it's our first episode for the entire year. What is
Happy
going
New Year.
on, people? Happy New Year. Again, you're hanging out with us, the Tailgate Tropa gang. Of course, me, Anthony, SS Steven Silva, Tito Martz, Coach H, Martin Antonio, joining us over here. So again, happy New Year to all Pinoy NFL fans out there. Of course, it's your favorite football segment on Radyo Katipunan 87.9, Tailgate Tropa time. So guys, before anything else, before we go to the explosive, super wild, I can't believe we're saying the super wild card weekend just because of the number of games that we had. But okay, first things first, we have to announce, Roll Tide Roll. We are celebrating with the rest of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Roll Tide Roll, and I bet Coach Ed Ogeron was one of the first who congratulated Coach Nick Saban by saying, "Coach Saban, I want to congratulate you for your national championship." I bet
You waited the whole year. You waited the whole year to bring that out.
And Nick Saban was like, "Oh, thank you, Ed. I know it's number 6 for us, but you know we are so elated in Alabama." But anyway,
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You've been practicing.
the Crimson Tide, Steven. Okay, I just wanna focus on the tweet that I read about just how dominant Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide have been for like decades. So it goes. Nick Saban is like, when you've become so dominant in NCAA 14 Dynasty mode, you start a new game with Wyoming just to have fun.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that exact tweet. You know, a lot of people talk about what they do on the field. It's really what they do before the season, the preparation and the recruiting. We were talking about this in our chat group. You know, it's the recruiting that they do every year. They're getting 4-star, 5-star recruits. And, you know, college is a completely different game because every season you're losing what, a third of your roster because they're graduating.
Yep.
So it starts there. And of course, Nick Saban, Coach Hammer was talking about it. You know, they're all business.
Yep.
They are almost like an NFL team, the way they're run. It's business, professionalism, and yeah, it helps that they put on a lot of points on the board. And a lot of these guys, you're looking at possible first round, second round picks coming up in a few months.
Yes, sir.
My face says it all.
Yes,
Of
we
course,
know.
go Buckeyes. I love my Ohio State Buckeyes, but at the end of the day, they had 4 first-rounders. The center who got injured, the best center in the nation. They had Jalen Waddell, who has a plate and a screw on his ankle, didn't need to play, but was still there. They had, of course, the Heisman winner, Devontae Smith, who won the championship against Georgia with Tua Tagovailoa on that flyer route. But against recording more than 200 yards on 12 catches during the first half, broke his middle finger in the second half in the first play. But of course, and Najee Harris was there. Mac Jones was untouched despite his diet. Untouched. Najee Harris, Mac Jones, and all those boys. And the dogs of Nick Saban. Man, the front seven, they were on Justin Fields' jersey the whole damn time. And I thought my Ohio State Buckeyes had the best offensive line. I am not. I am beyond surprised on what they did. But of course, a few things that are consistent in life: death, taxes, Bill Belichick building a great defensive team, somebody in Major League Baseball cheating, LeBron James making the NBA Finals, and Nick Saban, of course, building a very, very competitive program ever since he was with Louisiana State, Michigan State, and then now with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, congratulations. Roll Tide, but still, I love my Buckeyes.
That's a good sport.
I have a question for you guys. So, okay, we mentioned that, okay, the foundations for any college program success, be it internationally, but even locally, it's coaching, number one, and recruitment, number two. I mean, those two go hand in hand in terms of building a college football dynasty. But, right, let's go back to some of the players that Coach H mentioned. So, Devonta Smith, Tua Tagovailoa, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy. These guys were all part of the 2017 Alabama recruiting class. Now, do you think that 27 Alabama recruiting class, you put them all together with Mac Jones, Xavier McKinney, Alex Leatherwood, Najee Harris, can they beat the current iteration of the New York Jets?
Yes, they can. Every year this team is putting out first round picks, and like mentioning some of those names, I wrote this down in my notes. You're looking about Mac Jones. He lost 2 first round picks. He lost Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs. Coach Hammer mentioned it. He also lost Waddle for a good part of the season. Of course, they still had final 7 games. Of course, they still had Devontae Smith, but he's still able to just execute the offense.
Mm-hmm.
The accuracy there is one of his best traits. And unlike his counterpart, Justin Fields, Mac Jones isn't going to beat you with his legs. He can't. We saw his physique. That is not possible. So it just goes to show you, like you said, the coaching is there. The roster just keeps turning out draft picks, but then they also keep pulling in great new players each and every season. So it goes hand in hand. But for me personally, I think recruiting is just a tick above coaching. You can be a really great coach, but especially in college, if you don't have the players to compete with the Ohio States, the Alabamas, the LSUs, it's going to be very tough.
Right.
Man, I'm telling you, that's a football factory. Dylan Moses never smelled the field. 3 years coming into this year. They had big boys. I mean, you could only look at the defensive line of the Washington football team. They had Deron Payne, they have Jonathan Allen, and those guys were the big boys for the Alabama Crimson Tide during that title run. It's a very, very strong team. I mean, you could go around the league, of course. Historically, since Bear Bryant was there, of course, now Coach Nick Saban is the winningest coach in Alabama football history. But at the end of the day, in college, it's about coaching and recruitment. You come out of Alabama, you'll be a very, very good middle linebacker. It's the original DBU, and you will be a man when you're playing running back for that squad. So the quantifier is, will they be able to practice the whole day? This is what the New York Jets has been doing. They are professionals. They are paid to do it. The Alabama players, they have classes. They need grades to maintain. Some of them are 4.0 students. So, I mean, if they can practice the whole day, I see no problem with them beating the New York Jets. But if they would still practice like student athletes, they would be bullied by the Jets. I disagree with Steve on that.
All right. So, okay. Bama, they're set to make some changes for next year. So Bill O'Brien, Billy O'Brien from the Houston Texans, he's going to be Bama's offensive coordinator. And
Yep,
Nick
yep.
Saban even considered Adam Gase, right? For the job. But I just want to pitch in because Tito Mart's over here is now going up to 260. He might want to coach the O-line for
No, no,
Bama.
no, no.
Whoa.
I'm moving into inside linebacker now. It's all me, brother. I'm moving to the inside linebacker because my teammates can't tackle even if their life depended on it. So I'll be playing both sides this year. Hopefully there's a season. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you pick on my quarantine weight? I thought
I
you
was
were
gonna
my
say
friend.
that's foul. Pulling up somebody's weight. You're better than that, Anthony.
All right.
But
All right, move.
I'm at 12%. I'm at 12%, so that's pretty good.
all muscle, baby.
Beyond that Mac Jones diet. But anyway, moving on to some coaching movements actually, and front office movements. So, Philadelphia Eagles, they fired Doug Peterson, so that's the end of their 2017 core. But was this about Coach H? Was this about the benching of Jalen Hurts, or was this Philly siding with Carson Wentz?
Well, Carson Wentz, they invested so much money. If they cut him off, they would be paying so much. I mean, we're looking at three figures in the millions, 100 million on a dead cap space if they cut him off. And Doug Peterson, they wanted Super Bowl with him, but of course, you have a blue chip quarterback who can't seem to stay healthy. Number one thing that they need to do is build that offensive line. They have been facing a lot of injuries. They never started the five that they wanted to, even before the season started. Their right guard got his Achilles tendon. The other Achilles tendon popped up. So they need to revamp that. I think Jalen Hurts is a trading chip for them. Zach Ertz will be out of the squad because Dallas Goedert took away all the snaps that he needs. So it's all about building around Carson Wentz. They need better receivers. They need to have a more fluid play calling. And Doug Peterson would be having a new team. Maybe it would be the New York Jets. Who knows?
Right. Okay. And another
Yeah.
move that we were talking about before we went on air, Steven, I just don't get it. Right? Deshaun Watson he's unhappy with what's happening with Houston ever since the D-Hop trade and all of that went down. But why would you surprise Deshaun Watson with Nick Caserio of the Patriots? It's like going on LinkedIn, but then the headhunters on LinkedIn go, you know what? Are you really hiring us to search your next coach or GM? But in the end, you're not using our services. I'm at loss for this.
Yeah, it's a really dysfunctional situation. This is something you expect from the New York Jets, the Jaguars, for a while the Cleveland Browns. They just keep making these bad internal decisions, and it affects what happens on the field. You talk about Deshaun Watson. Before the season even started, what do? They trade away his number one option, possibly one of the best wide receivers, if not the best, in DeAndre Hopkins, to another team in the NFC. So, they're making all these weird decisions. They're not consulting him. And you don't play around with a situation like this. You have one of the top 5, if not a top 10 quarterback who hasn't even entered his prime. And you're really playing with fire here, mixing pieces around, making the situation difficult. Even JJ Watt was talking about this, that this is inexcusable. Like, they feel sorry for what's happening because, they want to win. They're here to win games. And the opposite side, the front office is making things more and more difficult for them. And again, this is a generational player. Deshaun Watson is the quarterback that you want right now. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. I think if my stats are correct, he still led the league in yards. You lose your number one receiver and you still lead the league in passing yards. So it just goes to show you what kind of player he is. You take more and more away from him, but he still produces.
Yep. So surprise for Houston, but I guess they have to do with yet another ex New England front office guy. So from Bill O'Brien, they go now to Nick Caserio, and we'll wait to see on that. But anyways, the moment we've been waiting for, Super Wildcard Weekend recap. This is it. We'll start with the NFC. Coach H, let's start with the LA Rams upsetting the Seattle Seahawks 40-20. Steven, Coach H, I just want to take a moment to thank God for saving Jared Goff's career. He could have lost it to John Wolford if John Wolford didn't get injured on the second drive. So Jared Goff, Coach H, plays 12 days just after thumb surgery. But I mean, it's not about Goff. It's the Rams. They're the number one scoring defense in the league. They just suffocated Russell Wilson here.
Yep. Pressure on the inside, pressure on the outside, pass rush, plugging the gaps on the run game. We saw Jalen Ramsey just take care of business, take away DK Metcalf in the second half, and tippy toes that Russell Cook. It was undercooked. Ingredients were not there. He was scrambling for his life the whole time. This might be one of the worst performances of Russell Wilson's career in the postseason. And you can't just let Russell cook. You need to have historically, Seattle has been a power running team. And when they gave the keys to Russell Wilson, this is what happens. They would be having very, very good regular season games, but during the playoffs, when it's bump and grind, highly physical, and they would take away your strength on strength, this is what happens. I mean, his offensive line was exposed. They were saying that they were protecting him the whole season, and then Aaron Donald happened. And then all these guys, what's his name? From Chicago, the linebacker who moved to the Rams. I mean, they were putting pressure on Floyd. Michael Floyd was putting a lot of pressure on him and sacked him twice. So, at the end of the day, if you let Russell cook, you need to have the right ingredients. These two tight ends were negated by all the linebackers of this very, very good LA Rams team. And we just need to be thankful that Jared Goff didn't lose his thumb during the game.
Yes, thank goodness.
Yeah. And Steven, I know Russell Wilson, he has Batman, he has DK Metcalf on his side, but if you could just if you saw how the camera just focused on DK Metcalf along the bench, he was just frustrated because of Jalen Ramsey's elite coverage
they're the same
skills.
size, man.
Yeah.
They're the same size. I mean,
I'm sure
DK Metcalf is listed as 6'3",
Yeah.
225, 230. Jalen Ramsey is listed as 6'2", but he is tall. He is lanky, and he is low body heavy. If you look at his midsection, it's very, very thick. He can bang with those big boys, and he has that length. So that's one thing that DK Metcalf had against the smaller secondary players. But with Jalen Ramsey, that's why he's elite. That's why he gets paid the way that he gets paid for guys like DK Metcalf or the number one receivers.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. No, it's just going off what Coach was talking about. I think it was such a bad move that Seattle started going away from their power running game. And it's such a weird takeoff because the first 5 or 6 games of the season, Seattle started off 5-0. Me and Anthony were talking like Russell Wilson looks like he's just going to run away with the MVP award. He was putting up these insane stats. I forgot he threw how many touchdowns before he threw his first interception. DK Metcalf was taking off. Obviously had such a great season, but again, the Jalen Ramsey versus him, it's probably one of the first times he's faced a cornerback about the same size as him. He probably lines up and he's like, whoa, this guy is the same size as me. And Jalen Ramsey likes to play that physical game, just like DK Metcalf does. So, again, that's why he gets the big bucks. The pressure was there, 5 sacks on Russell Wilson. It's really hard to get a lot of momentum and get past, a good passing game going when guys are in the backfield. You only get about 2 seconds, 3 seconds before you need to get the ball out. And another thing is they were really bad on third down. And I don't know if you have to put this all on Russell Wilson, but one of the worst games I've seen him play, 11 for 27, 174 yards, a bad interception. The O-line it doesn't look good. It needs to be upgraded because, we always say, let Russ cook. Russ can't cook if he doesn't have time, if he's always having to run for his life. I mean, he can still make it happen, but more often than not, you don't want to put your quarterback under constant pressure like he was. Let Russ cook. He got cooked this time. Sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. I'm actually happy to see it.
All right, so moving on ahead, it's time for the divisional preview. So we got the
Such
LA
a San
Rams.
Francisco fan. And diba, pagka-anim yung running back mo, you should be a power running team. And if you
Yeah,
get pass
for sure.
protect and your offensive line is built for the run,
Run the
why do you
ball.
keep on passing it and letting
Diba?
your franchise quarterback getting hit? I mean, you can't be. It doesn't take rocket science to do this. You have 6 running backs in your squad.
Exactly. My
that's
point
what-
exactly.
That's what Pete Carroll and the rest of Seattle have to figure out going into next season. So, going with the winners this time, LA Rams, number 1 scoring defense in the NFL, as we previously mentioned. They go up against the number 1 offense right now
Ooh,
in the NFL.
strength on
Um,
strength.
Right, there's only 2 names, Steven. There's only 2 names that Seattle has to watch. LA has to watch out for when it comes to Green Bay, and that's Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. And just how lethal has that been? Steven, A-Rod has completed 91 passes for 1,144 yards and 14 TDs just to Devontae Adams. Jalen
Wow.
Ramsey is gonna have a heck of an assignment in this one.
In situations like this, it's strength on strength, best defense versus one of the best offenses. I really don't know. It's kind of a toss-up because we just saw what happened. The Rams basically took the strength of Seattle and made it into nothing. They put pressure on Russell Wilson, even though he was able to get out of the pocket a few times. You have really good cornerbacks in the Rams, so they can take away the passing game as well. The Packers, though, they've been here. Aaron Rodgers has the experience. I really don't know what's going to happen. I would go with defense because defense is usually more consistent than offense. But the Packers have been here. They're going to be playing at Lambeau, so I wouldn't put it past the Packers to win this one as well and move on.
Cool.
I'll be giving you an X factor, Adam Jones. If he could run through the defense of the Rams, they would be good. That's the simplest way. It
Alright.
alleviates the pressure on Aaron Rodgers. He can pass block like the best of them, and if he can play at least at par with some of the front 7 of the Rams, they could have a very, very good chance of going to the divisional finals.
All right, so that caps off our preview for the LA Rams versus the Green Bay Packers. Going again to the other wild card weekend matchup, Tampa Bay 31 versus Washington 23. Can I just plug in a short marketing tagline that I came up with? Taylor Heineke, he deserves to be the new endorser for Heineken. So it's like, need a Heineken? Grab a bottle with Heineke. Okay, but anyway.
You know what he deserves? He deserves
Nice.
a new contract. He deserves a new contract. He could lead that squad. He could manage that team.
He definitely injected a different feel to that team. A little bit of grit, They need that. You need that, especially at the quarterback position.
I mean, Taylor Heineke was in math class at Old Dominion just 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Before
Wow.
before putting on quite a performance. But anyway, going back to the winning team, Coach H, Tampa Bay didn't play outstanding here, right?
Nope.
They needed the presence of their running game, and they got it from Leonard Fournette, 93
Yep.
yards, 19 carries.
Cowbell. I mean, make him your featured back. Rojo, Ronald Jones was not available. I think it was COVID protocols for him. Leonard Fournette, we've known him since he was with LSU. Big time player. Give him a gap to run through. He's not an east to west runner. He would just run it up your gut. And the big thing here was Mike Evans was injured the whole game. He was running on one leg, but still had more than 100 yards. And a crucial catch was his diving single leg catch, going for that first down. And Cameron Braid coming off the bench, stepping up big time. Rob Gronkowski hanging out at the backfield, providing extra protection. My goodness, look at this front 7 of the Washington football team. I love this squad. Montez Sweat, who got I think he tweaked something during the first drive, but Montez Sweat was there, Jonathan Allen,
Deron Payne.
and of course Predator himself of the Ohio State University, Chase Young. Chase Young had 3 guys covering him every single time. He couldn't put
Beast.
pressure, couldn't hurry Tom Brady. He wanted a challenge, and for the foreseeable future, for the next decade or so, he'll be one of the featured pass rushers of the league. So I really like this Washington football team, but the veteran smarts, Antonio Brown, Cam Brate, and all of those guys, even if Godwin dropped 3 crucial passes in the third quarter, they eked out the W.
Right. So, Steven, we have a potent offense in Tampa Bay. So they got the running game working that opened up looks for Cameron Braid, even Antonio Brown. But, the team that they're going to face come divisional, it's going to be the New Orleans Saints, who they just clobbered the Bears. Their defense was dominant. So shout out to Sean Payton. He got slimed in the Jordans in the Nickelodeon game. So good job, coach. But, Steven, this is going to be the third matchup. TB12 versus Drew Brees.
Yes.
What could possibly be the last time we ever see TB12 versus Drew Brees. But, Steven, this is a different Tampa Bay than compared to the 48-3 defeated Bucks early in the season, right? New Orleans has to be prepared for them.
Yeah, it's a different time of the season. You have the Tom Brady's. This is where they stand out. The Drew Breeses, the Tom Brady's especially. They know what to do in this situation. And I remember we talked about it, I think during the season preview. One of the things we said was, in the early parts of the season, Tampa Bay has all these new parts coming in. They're going to find their way through the season. There was a couple stumbles, like you just mentioned, against New Orleans early in the season. They looked completely outplayed. But if you look at the last couple games, the Bucks are actually 5-0 since their bye. So, it shows you they're picking up the momentum. They're starting to figure things out. This wasn't their best showing, but as Coach Hammer picked out, Washington, even for the record, they're one of the best defensive teams in terms of just that front line, the pressure they get. It's dangerous. If they can fit out a couple more pieces, their defense could be top 5. They just need to figure things out on the offense. And of course, they're coming from the NFC East. Sometimes we kind of wonder why they have a representative coming in from the NFC East. With the Washington, they were like 7-9. It's kind of weird when you see a team making the playoffs, hosting a playoff game, and they have a losing record. But that's a completely different story. I'm excited to see it. The Bucks, again, they've been picking up momentum. Not their best showing, but they'll figure it out. The Saints did beat the Bears, but I don't think that was really a dominating victory, how the Saints beat the Chicago Bears. They kind of kept them in the game for a while, especially in the first half. It's not like they were pulling away. They weren't dominating the game. And the thing that worries me is the Saints actually, if you look at that roster, this is probably up to down, top to bottom, the best, most talented roster the Saints have had, since Breeze has been there. True. So it's one of those things where if they don't win out this postseason, it makes you wonder what happens from there. Breeze might call it quits. Some of these players are going to either want to get paid more. Some players might leave. So, the NFL is very finicky like that. It is a win now because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, next month, next season.
Yeah,
true.
So,
well, for me, it would be just they would cancel each other out. Veteran quarterbacks would always be protected by their offensive line. Two of the best offensive lines is with Tampa Bay. They built it through the draft and through free agency. And, of course, the New Orleans Saints. At the end of the day, can the inside backers, David and Devin White, who was out during the game, can they control the gaps that Alvin Kamara and Taysom Hill would be making and the slants of Mike Thomas? If they can control that, I think they would have a very good chance of beating the New Orleans Saints because Alvin Kamara has been the most potent offensive option this side of the football. And you could compare him to Tyreek Hill. They're the two guys that could do so much for their offense.
So dynamic.
It unlocks a lot of things for their quarterbacks and also for their receivers. At the end of the day, if that happens, you would see Emmanuel Sanders and those boys making big plays. On the other side, if the linebackers and Ndamukong Suh and the guys on the outside can set the edge for them, the Saints would be having a whole lot of trouble throughout this game.
All right, so switching over now to what has been, I think, the more intriguing conference for this season, the AFC. We'll start off with the first wild card matchup over there. Buffalo Bills 27 versus the Indianapolis Colts 24. This is the first Buffalo Bills playoff win since December of 1995. Coach H, I'll start with you. Let's face it. Indianapolis Colts, they played better as a team, but the Buffalo Bills, they have number 17, Big Boy Blue. Josh Allen played just good enough to bail them out. I mean, when they couldn't get the runs going, it was Josh Allen QB sweeps, scrambles. That's the only way they could run the ball. And Josh Allen showing why he's an MVP candidate.
The only thing that I could say, they almost lost that game in the second quarter. Going through the halftime, they were third and long, pinned down on their, I think they were on their 40 yards, on their own 40. Allen throws it. Josh Allen throws it on the sideline. Pinpoint toe drag swag. Gabriel Davis. The next series, another third and long on the other sideline. Gabriel Davis catching two crucial balls on a toe drag on the sideline to give them the cushion that they needed in the second quarter for them to have that rally and just literally push off the Colts down and just hold them off for a very, very big win for their franchise. But Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley, very big players, and it unlocked again. Wide receivers would only be as good if their QBs can throw it deep, and if there is one guy that you want to run deep routes in precision with your heavy arm quarterback, of course it's Stephon Diggs.
Yeah. And
Another thing
go
to
ahead,
kind of
Steven.
go off what Coach was saying. The Bills won the game, but if you look at some of the stats too, I think the Colts also really kind of gave it up as well. If you look, I saw some crazy stats on this game. The Colts actually took the ball into Bills territory on all 9 of their first possessions. Really bad red zone execution. They weren't scoring points. They were, settling for field goals and having to punt the ball away. And also another crazy stat. The Colts are the first team in NFL postseason history to have a game with 450 total yards, no turnovers, but to still lose the game. So, it's really bad execution on offense. We know that the defense for the Colts is stout. They do it on all 3 levels, but just the offense just really kind of coming up short. And it really sucks because the defense put in such a great effort all year. Shout out to Forrest Buckner, all pro, got snubbed at the Pro Bowl. But, it's one of those things where if you don't succeed on all levels, whether it's special teams, offense, and defense, if there's no synergy where the defense is playing their hearts out, but the offense just keeps coming up short, especially in the postseason, teams are going to take advantage of that. And I think, like Coach was saying, I think the Bills kind of got lucky. They're not going to be able to do that in the next game against the Ravens.
Exactly. And every time that Naheem Hines and Jonathan, what's his name, the running back from Nebraska, the young kid, whenever
Jonathan Taylor.
Taylor.
Oh yeah, big
Whenever
boy. He's a
Jonathan
big boy.
Taylor gets that football, they would be met by at least 3 guys on the backfield. I haven't seen anything like that against the Colts. They had a very good offensive line, but during this game, pressure was there on their running game. Again, setting the edge and putting the clamps on the running game, it really soggy the offense of the Colts.
All right, so going now to the other bracket in the AFC wildcard weekend. Well, Baltimore Ravens 20 versus Tennessee Titans 14. Finally, Lamar Jackson getting the monkey off his back. First playoff win after losing 2018, 2019 at home. But, Steven, I know Lamar Jackson was awesome in this game, especially when they were down 10-0. And then they just came back after that. But shout out, Steven, Baltimore's defense, they smothered 2020's Jim Brown, who is, Derrick Henry. 5-man D-line, man coverage. They suffocated Derrick Henry, and very few teams can claim that, Steven.
No, it's true. I think Coach would probably enjoy what he saw. They dominated in the trenches, and this Tennessee Titan teams, they were special last season. Don't get me wrong. They ran through the AFC last season into the postseason, but you can't be one-dimensional. Each season is different. I feel like the Titans, they need more variety. They need help. They got to help Derrick Henry. They can't just always rely on him. They need help at wide receiver. They need more help at tight end. They probably need some more help on the offensive line. But the Ravens, they took care of, work in the trenches. We know Lamar is special, but man, on that play, I think the 45-yard scamper where it was a broken play, he takes it, he jukes one guy, jukes another, and just runs into the end zone. I don't think Lamar Jackson is the fastest quarterback be one of the fast.
Got you on that, Steven. Sorry, we just had a bit of a lag over here, but Coach H, just to continue with what Steven had already mentioned, I mean, Derrick Henry, we know how explosive he is, but it seems as though, di ba parang Derrick Henry needs that build-up speed to get going before he
Yeah.
busts through for 30
Of course,
yards.
he starts 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage every time.
Yeah.
If you observe, the shortest start up that he needs is 5 yards. If you observe, that's why all of their play action works. John Smith on the pulling side because Taylor Lewan is injured. Again, he busted his knee in the regular season. But of course, if you're a 230-pound 6'2" back, you would be a mismatch if you are going up against DBs. But you're going up against Williams, Calais Campbell, Matthew Judon, Patrick Queen, and those
Malik
guys
Harrison.
are 4-4-4-4-7 when it comes to running. And short bursts of that defensive line, they were able to plug in the gaps. The play action pass was not there. Corey Davis again laying a goose egg on this game. We have high hopes on him. He needs to be the number one guy for this squad. And at the end of the day, Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, shout out to Ohio State Buckeyes, putting in the wheels, getting the touchdowns. And whenever the Tennessee Titans are knocking on the door, they have an answer, they have a run, they can chew off the clock. And this is bully on bully. The way that they play, it's very physical, and that's the type of game that I love to watch.
Who would have thought in 2020 would have a game where it would be won and, just all out physical up front? It's so old school. And this game, I mean, Steven, this game was, it would get chippy from the start. I mean, with John Harbaugh and Vrabel last year, meeting on the logo, and then here, Ravens celebrating on the logo. I love it's so 1980s, kind of Walter Payton in your face type of game.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have history, and Lamar and the rest of the Ravens, they took it kind of personally that they thought that the Titans pretty much thought that they had the Ravens number, especially after they beat them single-handedly last year. Again, each year is different. The Ravens took it personal. They made the adjustments, and I think we said this earlier in the year. The Ravens probably the most talented roster in the NFL. They have the players. It's just about executing, and they did that.
Exactly. So now, Coach H, going now to the divisional round preview. We got the Buffalo Bills versus the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens, they won their 6th straight game. The Bills won their 7th straight after the Hail Murray game. So, battle between the two hottest teams in the entire league. Something's got to give. Who do you got over here?
Again, the pass rush, if they can control that trench, of course, I like the Ravens. I mean, their defensive line, their secondary with Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters there, their linebacker core. It's a very, very good defense. And their offense, of course, Mark Andrews providing the security blanket for Lamar Jackson. Dez Bryant looking like 2014 Dez Bryant on some possessions. I need to say that. On some possessions. I still need to see that X to be thrown on that field. And he deserves to win. I mean, this team is a complete team. They play so well on defense, very well coached, very professional. But the Bills Mafia, man. I just want the Bills to win for their fans because I have two friends, Kuya Bob Guerrero and our QB Luke Zetazate, who loves the Bills, and I need to block them this week for all the messages that they've been sending me talking trash because my Ohio State lost.
Wow. Bills Mafia, Manila sector, stand up.
Uh-huh.
I would love to see the
them.
Bills win too, man. I would love to see the Bills win, but I just feel like the Ravens are too talented. They've been there before. I feel like the Bills are still a year away. Josh Allen is still young. It's his first taste of the playoffs. Obviously, the first taste of the Bills getting into the playoffs since 1994, I believe. So I think they're still a year or two early. Maybe next year. I think the Ravens, again, it's a juggernaut of a team. They're just so talented. And, they came up short last year. So you kind of figure that it's still in their minds. They should have been the team last year. they were a better team record-wise last year. They went 14-2, I believe, and they fell short, in horrible fashion. So this could be, I guess, the revenge season for them. They're taking it personal, and like Coach was saying, they're focused. They're on a mission right now. So I want the Bills to do well, but I really don't see them beating the Ravens.
And who knows, Steven, it just might be, a comeback season for Lamar Jackson. After, after that sorry exit last year, he's out to prove something, and he just did with his first playoff victory. But of course, we had to save the best game of the wild card weekend for last. Cleveland Browns 48, Pittsburgh Steelers 37. The Cleveland Browns, they pick up their first playoff win since New Year's Day of 1995, and just a few months after that, Baker Mayfield was born. So
wow, what a stat!
And okay, so Bill Belichick was the Browns head coach at that time, the last time they won a playoff game. But Coach H, I mean, when Jarvis Landry was asked, what about Baker Mayfield's chip on his shoulder that makes him so gritty, that makes him so tough? I mean, Jarvis Landry just said this guy has been through all the obstacles, all the adversity that you could throw at the player since college. I mean, from transferring and then walking on at Oklahoma
Twice,
right?
Twice.
And you know what, Baker Mayfield, he just displayed so much poise in this game, and he just with Juju Smith-Schuster, going out to the media and saying, "Oh, they're still the same Browns team I played. They're nameless gray faces, dancing on the on the logo and all that." Baker Mayfield, what? Props to you. You prove that you're after all a leader. The leader that Cleveland deserves.
True. And of course, this was the redeeming game of my weekend. Shout out to the Browns fans. I love it. They were able to win. Austin Hooper and Harrison Bryant playing well. But at the end of the day, you need to put this in perspective. If they don't have their head coach, their offensive line was on the 8th and 9th guy off the street. Some of the guys playing on this game just came out of free agency because they don't have enough guys to rotate. They have injured players. Their Pro Bowl right tackle, Jack Conklin, All-Pro right tackle, was injured during the game. I think he beat his hamstring. But the character of this squad. I mean, I took a shower. I woke up early. I took a shower, brushed my teeth, and I came back. They were up 14-0. I was hearing the commentary. Jarvis Landry touchdown and a safety to start the game. I mean, this was for them. And not a popular take, this team is built to run the football. They have 3 tight ends that can block: David Njoku, Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant. They have a stout offensive line. They have Jarvis Landry. They have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. One thing that Baker Mayfield does very well is scrambling outside the pocket, and his accuracy is up there with the best of them. You know what's missing? Odell Beckham Jr. When they don't have the drama, they don't have anybody to feed, they can focus on doing what they do best and lean on Myles Garrett, Olivier Vernon, and their secondary to win ball games. I mean, it's simple. It's simple metrics. You stick on your strength, you don't have any defense who needs to be fed, and you put it to the surest hands in the game, Jarvis Landry.
Yep. You know what, Steven? Like, talking about Baker Mayfield, all he had to do was just play it cool and lean on Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I mean, I don't wanna put it on Odell Beckham, but after Odell Beckham went down, Cleveland, they just said, let's not try to, do anything cute, do anything fancy. Let's just batter it down the opponent's gut again and again and again with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and look at where they are.
Yeah, no, I think Coach also brought up a good point. Maybe it's kind of addition by subtraction. After OBJ went down, a lot of other players had to step up. There's less of an ego. OBJ, as talented as he is, he sometimes has an ego that kind of overshadows the rest of the things that are happening on the field. So maybe, there's a higher level of focus that they have. And we've known that Baker Mayfield is talented. I think the thing is with Baker Mayfield, it's like we sometimes don't know which player we're going to get. Are we going to get the guy that, earned the number 1 overall pick, that has the talent, that has the arm, the moxie that you want in a quarterback? Or are you going to get the one Baker that's, inconsistent, accuracy is all over the place. He's not hitting the spots that he needs to hit, and sometimes he gets flustered in the pocket. But this is kind of a special game. You look away, you go use the bathroom, you get a snack. All of a sudden, the Browns are up 28-0. The first play of the game, bad snap goes over Roethlisberger's head, goes into the end zone. So right off the bat, you knew this was going to be kind of a special game, and the momentum was with the Browns. But if you look at the score, 48-37, it makes you think it was a close game. It really wasn't in the early part. So, but the Browns, they won the game. Congratulations to them. It's their first playoff win since 1994. But with the Steelers, I'm not even a Steelers fan, but I feel so sad and exasperated. This team started off 11-0, but since then, 1-5. I don't know what happened down the end of the season. I think they got too comfortable. A lot of penalties, turning over the ball a lot of drops. They just started getting sloppy. I don't know. Maybe they started celebrating too much. You look at Juju and those wide receiving cores. They started focusing more on TikTok than actually playing the games. I think they started celebrating. They lost their focus, and it's really sad because who knows? We might have seen Ben Roethlisberger play his last game in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. That roster isn't the youngest roster in the league, so a lot of players could be leaving. It could be the end of an era in terms of Big Ben and a lot of those players there. So really sad to see them go out this way.
And you know what, Steven, good point on that, because Coach H, with Big Ben and him and Marquise Pouncey, I think this is their last game together. But Big Ben resembles the last of the statue QBs, him and Phillip Rivers. If you can't move and escape the pocket like a Josh Allen, like a Lamar Jackson, you know what? Your 2021 requires a different skill box compared to the 2000s QBs.
Well, you have Mac Jones coming up. So that's your favorite player. But at the end of the day, if you focus too much on social media, this is what happens. You get punched on the face without Denzel Ward and Kevin Johnson. They're two best cornerbacks, and you can't make plays like that. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster played really well, had more than 150 yards throughout the game, but those are empty yards. A lot of those came after the big lead was erected by the Cleveland Browns, and everybody was trying to hit him. Everybody. Malcolm Smith had a good hit on him. I mean, the safeties of this Cleveland Browns squad. And they don't have their head coach, Kevin Stefanski. So kudos to the Cleveland Browns for stepping up. And I wanted Jalen Hurts to be the quarterback of the Steelers, but we'll see who they get in the draft.
All right, so Cleveland fans, you have been dreaming for 26 long years for a night like this. You just got it, but the dream has to continue. But there's a caution behind it. It just might end because Cleveland is going up against the defending champs, the Kansas City Chiefs and Pat Mahomes. But Steven, Kansas City, all right, we saw this before in the season. They tend to play down to the level of their opponents. Example, against the Oakland Raiders. And Kansas City has not won by more than a touchdown since November 2020. So, Steven, this Cleveland, even though it's the slimmest of chances, they still have a chance against, the defending champs.
Oh yeah, they do have a chance. I mean, if they're able to, play their game, put some pressure, especially on Patrick Mahomes, get him flustered early, get some momentum like they did against the Steelers, they definitely have a chance of winning this game. I don't know if I would bet my money on it, but I think what you said is point on. The Chiefs sometimes they look like these world beaters. I think they have that mentality where like they can just turn the switch and they can beat anybody. But that's a dangerous game to play. We've seen some teams do that, where it's like, we'll just wait, we'll turn it on. But sometimes it doesn't always work like that.
Mm-hmm. They're not the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
But frankly, like that.
Yep.
The biggest matchup would be Mitchell, give me my money, Schwartz, and Myles Garrett. They didn't pay Mitchell Schwartz throughout this process. We'll see how he would fare. But of course, this guy's a Jew. He's a professional. He would do anything to protect that QB. Travis Kelce would be there for a security blanket. It would be a good matchup. Very, very good matchup. And I think may tulog dito yung Kansas. I mean, they've been they've been resting for more than 2 weeks now. There might be a little rust, but you have Patrick where Mahomes at. So you already know what would happen. Tyreek Hill and that very explosive offense. I mean, come on, man.
Yep,
And
it's dangerous.
I bet you guys, Kansas City and Andy Reid, there was like, munch, cheeseburger. We're going to play Baltimore. We're going to play Pittsburgh. What the heck? We're playing Cleveland? Ooh. Come on, scouts, bring out your reports. but, but okay, at the end of the day, I think, we were treated to a spectacular super wild card weekend, and there's more to come, going into the divisional rounds. And just take a look at this, guys. Of the 4 QBs left in our AFC divisional round, Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is the youngest, is the oldest among them at 25. So this core 4, we might just see them in more, historic playoff moments for the next decade or so.
Yeah, actually saw a interesting stat that showed the remaining AFC quarterbacks, the average age is 24 and a half years old. On the NFC side, which is probably due to Drew Brees and Tom Brady, the average age is 36 and a half. So there's a huge youth movement right now of all these new quarterbacks coming in and, having success getting into the postseason. So like you said, yeah, it's going to be exciting. We could be looking at the new chapter. The other, we're seeing it. Ben Roethlisberger could be done. We're obviously going to lose either Brees or Brady after this next week. So we could be flipping the page right now in NFL history. We just don't know it yet.
But at the end of the day, I think one of the 40-year-old QBs would be taking the championship this year. That's my fearless forecast. Either New Orleans or Tampa Bay would be going home with the Super Bowl this year.
And we got, a couple of weeks more to see if the prediction of Coach H comes true. But on that note, we have to end our football talk for this afternoon. So once again, thank you to all our listeners and followers and viewers only on Radyo Katipunan 87.9. I want to thank my co-hosts, Steven Silva and of course Tito Martz, for another all-out football discussion only here on Radyo Katipunan. Guys, any greetings, any shout-outs, any plugins that you wanna leave off there before we conclude? Steven, go ahead.
No, I just want to say Happy New Year. Thanks to you guys for having me back again. I'm looking forward to getting into these playoffs, talking more with you guys. It's our first time meeting in 2021, so I'm so happy to see your faces. Happy to see you guys healthy. I hope you guys had a good holiday. I had a very delicious holiday, so I'm exercising every day to work it off. But yeah, I'm just happy. I'm happy we're even talking about the NFL playoffs because 6-7 months ago we didn't know if there was going to be an NFL season. So I'm very thankful, and I hope 2021 is a good year for all of us.
All right, and please, for everyone's listening out there, check out Steven and his very buttery, very decadent pies.
Thank you for the segue.
Yun yung may kasalanan ng 10 pounds na nadagdag sa akin.
Exactly.
Yun yung may kasalanan. Watching all the videos. Happy New Year
all the
to
taste
guys.
testing and making sure all the pies are good. Yeah, but Anthony is talking about it. You can check us out on Instagram. It is called Silva Pies. It's a little, I guess, quarantine business that I started.
All right.
Alam mo ano maganda ka-partner niyan? Chicharon. Yan. Yung mga
Ayun.
chicharon. So
Sakto.
follow me, and of course, my friends, of course, from Hammer Hydration. Thank you very much. Flasks and everything else were there. And this I need to do. My weekend driver, the best cornerback in the game, si Dags Mambuhay, always commenting because we're talking about cornerbacks. He said that he's the best cornerback who can't defend me on one-on-one. So I don't think that you're the best cornerback. But I love you guys. Thank you for always being here to talk football, talk shop. Anthony, you're the man. Steven, gotta need the haircut. You're still good looking, but there needs to go. My Ohio State shirt. I love you guys. Happy New Year. And to the Wolves, be in shape. We don't need more offensive linemen. Stop gaining weight.
All right, guys. Happy New Year. Take care. Peace. Thank you so
Happy
much.
New Year.
Later.
Welcome to the Rundown, where we take you right into the action with the latest sports news, updates, game previews, breakdown, and analysis in, around, across, and beyond the Ateneo. And now, let's get ready to run down!
He goes the game.